Hi, welcome back to Gold Derby. I'm Christopher Rosen. I'm so pleased to be joined by Rachel Zegler, star of West Side Story. She plays Maria in the Steven Spielberg film, which is out now in theaters. It's a great film. Congratulations, Rachel, on your performance and all the accolades you've received so far and everything. It's great chatting with you. So thank you for doing this.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited.
So I know, obviously, I think for people watching this, maybe or they know you have a great background with West Side Story. I know you played Maria when you were 16 at the Bergen Performing Arts Center production of West Side Story, and then obviously you were casted in the film. It's obviously an incredible level up. But I was wondering, what were you able to take from playing Maria, I guess, previously into the film performance, or was there there's no way to maybe prepare for it, or how did you what were you able to take from it, I guess, in that
Yeah,
level?
it felt like a massive overhaul when it came to the film because there was just I mean, you go from doing summer community theater to doing Tony Kushner and Steven Spielberg are making a movie. So it's quite a bit of a difference. And so I didn't feel like this doing it on stage had really prepared me for anything besides knowing the material pretty well in the sense that I knew the source material. I knew the 1957 Broadway show. And then from that, I knew the movie really well. And I knew the music. I was taught the music. So that's really all it gave me. And then when I came in to work on the film, it was just this crazy overtaking of the story and having these deep conversations with Tony Kushner about this new and improved Maria, who was just this multi-dimensional character rather than this kind of black and white individual that I think a lot of people remember from Carol Lawrence's performance or Natalie Wood's performance in the Bob Wise movie and the stage production, stuff like that.
Yeah, I wanted to talk to you about that too, because I think one of the things I really loved about this film, and obviously I really still like the original movie.
Sure.
Obviously, I've never seen the stage versions, but I thought the way Tony Kushner contextualizes all the relationships and all the story and the characters is really kind of lightens levels it up, and especially
Yeah.
with Maria, I felt like for sure. And I guess I know you've talked about how I think I read an interview you called sometimes she's portrayed as a submissive child, and I think this film, it's clearly not that. And I think you have so much, Maria has so much agency, and you really see where she's coming from, and all of that stuff. I guess, was that there, or was that stuff that was that what everybody was thinking, or was that you were oh, this would be cool if we kind of flesh that out? Because how did that evolve, I guess?
Yeah, I mean, it was kind of funny because the first scene, you see the most unexpected thing from her, which is annoyance. I like the word go. She's mad about this dress. She says in Spanish, it's the ugliest thing I've ever seen in my life. And, she's being a bratty teenager. And I think it was really wonderful that Tony wanted to bring to the forefront the fact that she's only 18 years old. And there are so many things that you think you know when you're 18 and you think you know better than all of the adults. You think that you've lived so much life. And she doesn't realize that she's going to learn probably, and I hope, the most important life lessons that, life doesn't get much worse for her after that. But she's going to learn all of these incredible, hard life lessons in the next 24 to 48 hours. But it begins with her thinking she already knows better than everybody. And I think that's so true to being 18. I was 18 when I played the role. So, the original idea was that she was just whiny and complaining. And I was like, I don't want her to be mean about it. I certainly wasn't a joy when I was a teenager and not getting my way. I wasn't just being oh, well, I guess I'll wear it to the dance. No, I was pissed off where you're an 18-year-old. What are you going to do? So I love that dimension is there for her because it's not something that I think you see with a lot of, especially teenage roles. They're usually played, first of all, they're played by adults who have probably forgotten what it was like to actually be in that. I was 18 at the time when I was playing the role, 17 when I was auditioning, 16 when I was auditioning. So it was just this crazy mixture of all of these things that I was feeling in my real life and in the real time that I was making this movie, and getting to bring that to the screen was just so incredible.
Yeah, you mentioned I all those years. I was when have your thoughts on Maria evolved at all? Obviously, in the 4 years or so since you first started playing her, or how have you what do you think of her now, I guess, compared to what you even thought when you were 16?
Yeah, I mean, I thought I understood her really well when I was a teenager, and now I think I understand her less in the sense that I look at her decisions and I'm like, oh, girl, what are you doing? I have a lot of sympathy for her, honestly, because I remember getting into a legitimate argument with my sister and my mom after they saw the film. And they were like, I don't know, making those decisions, sleeping with the guy who killed your brother is kind of weird. And I was like, they were talking about a boy like that, and I just thought there was like a whole other facet to the song that they were missing, and that's that Bernardo killed someone too. Like, and so, I'm like trying to fight with them, and I actually changed their minds because they were like, "Oh, I forgot that like, just because Bernardo's dead doesn't mean that he never did anything wrong." He obviously got what was coming to him, and he unfortunately gets killed as well. But they're having this argument, and not once does Maria throw in Anita's face, you were in love with a killer too. And I think that that's really respectful of her. But there's just so much to that song that I think a lot of people miss. And like a lot of people are just standing there judging by their side, depending on whose side they're on, when really there's no right or wrong answer. And that's what they come to the conclusion at the end, saying, when love comes so strong, there is no right or wrong. Right. And so it's a beautiful moment. I just think that there's so many parts to Maria's character that a lot of people are very quick to judge without remembering that hopefully none of this has ever happened to them, but she's 18 years old and she's just flying off the handle.
Right. I wanted to talk to you about that scene. I loved in the film. I think I was like very excited, obviously, because from seeing the original, and like it's such a great moment in the original film as well. But I thought like the argument you're having with your family, I was like, it is like the audience has to take some leaps like with the characters, but I think you and Ariana both in that scene, like each of you start in like one spot, and like 3 minutes or whatever it is later, you're in a different spot. And I think you totally have the audience coming with you. And I just thought it's like, it is such a powerful scene. And I think it's like a very important scene for your character, obviously, as well. Like, can you talk about like getting to do that with her? And like, I mean, like, I just feel like, because it's like, you're mixing not just, the emotions of the character, but it's obviously like a lot of acting in the performance of the song and stuff. It's not just like you're great singers, but like you're emoting so much and getting so much of an arc in just that one scene. I just think it's incredible. So yeah, I'd love to hear you talk about that a little.
I think it's an incredibly Shakespearean scene in the sense that such a big change takes place over the course of 4.5 minutes. Like it's a huge shift in emotion. Ariana and I never talked about it. It was one of those things where the lead up to it was just us saying like, oh, we've got to do that on Thursday. Oh, we've got to do that next week, And then when it got to the point, it's obviously a behemoth of a song vocally, and we sang it live. It was this 2 days of filming. It was long hours, it was long days, it was long setups, because the lighting was very important to both Steven and Janusz respectively. Like they were very intentional with the way that the scene is lit, the way that Ariana's lit in the first part of it, the way that the colors, moving through the different sheets of color in the kitchen where she's, making all these dresses. And so it became less of a movie and more of a stage moment, in my opinion. The way that it's filmed is so beautifully theatrical while keeping that film element as well. And so my personal favorite part is just you get to that moment where you're like, oh, Maria, you are so lost, where she's like, she pushes Anita into a table of dinner that she has set up for a man who never came home. And it's so horrible. I mean, it's ironic. I don't think that it's intentional in a way that she's like, you should know better, and pushes her, being like, haha, he's dead, because that's her brother. She's still very upset, obviously. But then it turns into this declaration of, this is what I have to do, and I think that if you were in my shoes, you'd do it too. And I think that's why the audience is able to take that shift in emotion as well, because hopefully, like I said, we've never been in that situation before. We don't know what we would do if we were in her position. And I know that feeling the love that I feel in my life, or I have felt in my life, I might have made the same decision she made, and I don't know. And so that, the resolution where they both sing together, but even so, the lines afterwards saying, he's gonna have to go and you're gonna have to go with him. And she asks for forgiveness, and she's given that forgiveness in a way. It's the most beautiful form of love that Anita could possibly show her. And so it was a very powerful moment. And I'm kind of glad that Ari and I never talked about it or explored it, because it made it very real and very spontaneous. And I think it really translates onto the screen.
Yeah, I agree. I think it does. And I think that spontaneity is what makes it, like what you said there, really, really, the emotions really come out. You mentioned something there. I obviously, like, I'm saying this as first, I love this tweet that obviously that, so for people watching, like Rita Moreno's in the movie, she's incredible. She plays Valentina as a new character. She gets to sing Somewhere, which is really an incredible moment. It's so emotional, but it's obviously a foundational song for Tony and Maria, right? Because you're like, that's a moment for the audience maybe to be like, oh, this is like, it's like their star-crossed lover moment or whatever. And I I love the way it works, but I guess I'm fascinated that it does work, that you're still able to get that great moment with Somewhere, but also still have the audience like understanding the relationship of Tony and Maria. So I would love to know, like, how did you guys talk about losing that from a Tony and Maria standpoint as like part of your character's like relationship foundation?
Yeah, I mean, it never felt like a loss, honestly.
Okay.
I mean, I sang
Okay.
it in my callbacks and like my auditions. They had me sing it a bunch of times. So I thought that it was going to be my song should I have booked the movie. And then when I did, and we had our first read through, I remember, being, reading and, I had obviously not rehearsed the song, so I knew it wasn't mine anymore. And I knew that it was going to be for Rita. And none of us were really like, I don't know about that. None of us were like that. It was more of I hope that this works in the context of the last scene where Maria traditionally sings, Hold My Hand, and we're halfway there, hold my hand and I'll take you there. And then Tony dies. And it was this wondering if that was going to work. The second Rita stood up and started to sing that song, the breath was taken out of all of our lungs. I remember the gasps of like tears that came when she sang the last note. Me and Ricardo Zayas, who's in the cast, we just let out this like noise after it was done. And it was after that read through that Tony realized that the ending didn't work and that she needed to sing something that she's already heard. And that, Maria, reasonably, if you're thinking in the logic of the film, has never heard those words before. And also I think Tony believed that Maria might not necessarily believe that there's a place for them and might not really have that hope. She is the hope at the end of the film, but she might not have it or know it yet. And so her singing the beginning of the balcony scene made a lot more sense, and saying that, you're the only thing I'll see forever, that's the last thing he hears. And also the fact that he says, I'll never stop saying Maria, and the last word he says is Maria, and then he dies. It's just so friggin' tragic. But it was less of a loss and more of an expansion, and also giving Valentina, who has that life experience of being married to a white man, she knows the dangers and the risks, and she understands, and she's angry, and she's aggravated with the fact that society can't get it together. So it really did ultimately make the most sense for a character like Valentina to sing about it.
Yeah, I agree, and I think it's great. I was just wondering because I was like, it is such a big change. I think, in people, if they're like, if they only know the original or whatever they're going in, they're maybe like, but it totally works. The ending works, and not, I mean, some spoilers, but obviously it's like this. I don't know. Can you spoil a movie that's 50 years old? I don't think so.
Someone's like, Rachel spoils too much in interviews. I'm like, guys, it's Romeo and Juliet. It's 1500s, guys.
So no spoilers, but obviously the end is also really traumatic, like you said. And I think another thing, and again, that it goes back to like the how the script really kind of like fleshes out and contextualizes the characters. I think because like the Chino character is so much better. Like he's is so great, and is so like it's just, he's so tragic, and it's a tragic figure. I think that really ends up, the Maria sequence with him is so incredible and emotional. And I guess, like, I don't know, how did, like, where do you think, like, that scene is great, but like, where do you think Maria even goes after that scene? And like, how, like, what do you think? Like, what do you think happens next for Maria, I guess, after that? And for Chino maybe too. I mean, I don't even know.
Yeah, I mean, I mean, we have a lot of jokes about what happens to Chino. Like, he becomes like this big poppy in jail. And that's really the joke, is that West Side Story 2 is all about Chino getting out of prison. But it was a conversation that Tony Kushner and I really have yet to flesh out and have, because every time we would get there, we would both get very emotionally overwhelmed and like not be able to talk about it. It was a constant question for me, because as a very emotional person, I was like, how do you move on from something like this? What do you do? I think what's really important about that last scene is that Maria sees what she could choose to do by looking at Chino. She is pointing the gun at Chino, who fell to the same things that she might fall to, and decides that when he sees someone that he loves and cares about very much, he needs to do everything in his power to make sure that someone else feels that pain, and that he takes out some kind of revenge and hatred on another person. And he is a very tragic character because the first time you see him, he's just the sweetest peach. And then you see him at the dance and he's adorable and lovely and a possible suitor, like a real reasonable match for Maria. And that was also something that we tried to make true, Josh and I, during the dance at the gym. We're like, I want it to look like she could choose you if this other guy didn't come around, and like I want people to root for him, and then obviously see this tragic downfall that he has. But she sees that, like, that horribleness that hatred does to a person, driving them to the point of violence, driving them to the point of murder, and she makes the active decision not to go down that path. And a lot of that came from a very specific moment where you kind of see Maria like fall backwards and go back to Tony's body. And the direction there was that Steven said, I want you to hear his voice telling you that this is not the way. And it took a really long time because I didn't know if he wanted me to actually hear the, like, am I hearing voices, or is it like just this gravitational pull backwards to not do this horrible thing that I'm about to do? And for Chino, you really want to believe that he's going to be okay. I personally, like, I get it. Not that I would go to the point of murdering someone else, but it's a deep-seated anger of this person who gave him so much hope in this world is suddenly taken away from him, and he has the opportunity to make the person who's responsible hurt even more. So, like, it's something that I think a lot of people that resonated with people. But Maria is the way. Like, Chino's not the way. Maria is the way. And so you just want to hope that, like, people watch it and realize that, like, yeah, hate's not the answer. Let's make like Maria and get out of here.
Right. No, it's true. It's very true. And I think you're like, again, like the way, I think the way the whole thing is, like, you're right. Like, he does feel like very much a possible suitor for Maria. And I think that makes it so, it just makes it so much better. And not to besmirch the original movie, but I don't feel like you get that sense from the Chino character in the original at all. No. And no, it just doesn't work as well as it does in this.
He's barely on screen.
He really is.
First iteration. I think he's got 3 scenes in total. He takes her to the dance.
Yes.
He comes and says he killed your brother. And then in the end, it's like, yeah. Where did this guy come from? And like, why did he just kill a person? It's just, and also the whole gun plot gets all fleshed out in hours too, which is pretty amazing.
I really like that too. I thought that was a great touch. So you mentioned like Steven Spielberg and obviously direct. This is your first movie for people. Like, this was like, obviously you've booked other stuff since, and I know you were in Shazam, or going to be in Shazam, but you shot Shazam and Snow White as well. But I mean, like, starting your first film with Steven Spielberg as a director is kind of like absolutely outrageous. But I guess, like, what was, like, how do you even wrap your head around that? And like, what was he like, I guess, to work with? I know I've seen on, like, I know you seemingly have such a very cordial, very lovely relationship based on like interviews I've seen and red carpet stuff. But I guess, like, I'd love to hear you talk about it, like what he was like to be directed by him in your first film is pretty incredible.
Well, it's ridiculous to think about, truly. Like, I cannot believe it still to this day. Like, I love Steven so much. I have grown up, I'm sure as you probably did, and everyone who's probably watching this, I grew up loving Steven Spielberg films. I mean, they were just the quintessential family film. Or they weren't, like, my favorite film was Lincoln growing up. I loved the movie Lincoln. I thought it was so fantastic. E.T. was the first movie to make me cry. I mean, like, his name is so intimidating, but he is not. And it's the most incredible thing that the second you meet him, it all just kind of melts away. And there's just this human being looking back at you who wants to get to know you. And when I was going through my casting process, he was very adamant about getting to know my parents and like where I come from and how I operate. It helps him, it influences the way he directs young people, is knowing, their relationship to their parents, how do they relate to authority figures in their life, and all of that wonderful stuff. I mean, he has a great relationship with my parents, as he does with myself, and working with him is very collaborative, but he is very certain of what he wants, and so you kind of collaborate on that basis of what his vision is. And so, and he's super collaborative, obviously, with everyone, because if something doesn't work because Janusz is trying to do something else, we make it work. If something doesn't work with the way Tony's written something, or Tony wants it written different from the way it's directed, we make it work. And so it's just this wonderful thing. It's a sense of family that he really brings to every set that he works on. And his crew is just the most fantastic crew. And getting to join that incredible group of people is such an honor. It's not lost on me. I don't think it's lost on anyone who had the opportunity to work on this film. And we're all just so, I've never seen it before, because I've, worked on a couple of things since and talked to other people since then who have also worked on tons of projects. It's something that I've never seen in my life, with the way that people are so proud of the work they did on this film and the family that we've created and the friends that we made. I mean, it's such a tight knit group of people. I'm still in contact with all of my dresser, Anna, Judy, who did my makeup, and Lily, who did my hair, and like all of these people. They're like a warm hug to revisit that time in my life, because I was also a kid and had no idea what I was doing. It was my first film, like you said, and so I was guided by the best of the best to do my best and do this work that I never thought I could do. And so Steven took me under his wing, but so did hundreds of thousands of people who were working on that set, who took care of me, and I'm just eternally grateful.
It's incredible. I mean, like, obviously it's even like I feel like every department head is like the best in their craft, basically. It's like really crazy. Yeah. And like it comes across so much on the screen. I think you could really see that. It's like the movie is just every facet of it is like really working so well together. It's like it's so incredible. It's funny, man, like, and you, Steve, it's right. It's like, it's weird. He's obviously been doing this for so long, Steven Spielberg, and still like I'm much older than you, but I grew up on like Steven Spielberg, like you suggested. You're correct. And then also like, you know, he's been doing this for like 40 years, and they're 50 years. They're still awesome movies. It's just wild to me. It's really unreal.
I truly believe he'll never lose that storytelling spark. It's crazy. He's pretty good at this.
Yeah, he maybe has a future. I feel like your performance has gotten like again, for first time performance in the film, a lot of accolades. Like I think I mentioned at the top, and you won the MBR award for Best Actress. I know it's like there is definitely an awards buzz and conversation around your performance. I guess is that like just so strange, and then B, like, you know, what are your like, how does that feel, or how do you even think about that, you know?
Oh, it's the strangest thing ever. I truly never in a million years imagined my name in any of those conversations, let alone winning anything for anything. Like, it's just bizarre. I mean, it's a huge honor to just even be part of the conversation. You know, there's, you know, we had a really big year for Latin rep, and so to be able to be, you know, unfortunately one of the only Latinas in the conversation for Best Actress, it's an interesting conversation to witness as an outsider. You know, people think that like you're an insider in the conversation, but the conversation's being had about me. I'm not in it. You know, I'm not having the conversation. So it's been very interesting to watch. You know, and it's very wonderful to even be considered as a young Latina in this industry who's just starting out. I'm so honored, and really the greatest honor in the world is making a movie that we're so proud of. Truly, I believe that. And I think a lot of people think it's cliche, and that's me like deflecting to not be like, I want to win awards. But like, you know, of course I want to win awards. I'm a human being, but like we made something so freaking incredible. And so for the fact that it's even being spoken about in such a wonderful way, my performance included, I'm over the moon. It would be wonderful to be nominated, win things for sure, but truly at the end of the day, I'm just so proud of the work we did.
Yeah, I mean, it is great work, and I think, and it's great. I think people following on social media, you're so enthusiastic about everything you do, and I think it's great, and I think it's a great. I just hope you keep that enthusiasm up. It seems like you get genuinely excited about like the whole process of this, and also like engaging with like the whoever famous person, like whatever, you know what I mean, like Bruce Springsteen. I think I saw. Didn't you talk about maybe meeting Bruce Springsteen or something? Was that did I imagine that or no?
No,
that happened. Okay, yeah. So I just think it's very cool. I think that's really fun.
He came to set. He came to watch me do "I Feel Pretty."
Wow.
And I couldn't talk to him. He was like, "Oh, I came to see the Jersey Girl sing. I have to see." It was him and Steve Sondheim sitting next to each other. And I was like, my brain is going to explode if I walk over. I can't do it. So I didn't. And then I was lucky enough to get to meet him at a later date and talk to him and be like, I'm really sorry that I couldn't come up to you. It was my big song, and I just was going to pee my pants if I spoke to you. I'm really sorry.
It's amazing.
Keep it real.
Very cool. So West Side Story in theaters now. Rachel Zegler, thank you so much for doing this. I really appreciate it. It's been great chatting with you, and the performance is wonderful. So congratulations and thank you.
Thank you. So good to talk to you.
Thanks.